Hello, and thank you for stopping by today. Today, I want to share with you my first um, kind of vlog. We actually took a trip to Idaho for Christmas, my husband and I, and our 4 dogs. It was a road trip, and I took some snippets of video, so it's not a full vlog experience, but it's kind of dipping my toe and to see if you, my audience, are interested in this type of format, and if it's helpful to you, then I will continue to make them and probably make them more fully vlog experiences. So if you're ready, let's go ahead and dive in.
When we wake, hear the birds and see the sun. Side by side our fears are done. Oh, the good times just begun.
Okay, so like I said, today I'm going to share with you kind of a vlog of our road trip to Idaho, my husband and I with our 4 dogs. I have some video I'd like to share that might inspire you if you happen to be going through any of these states on your next trip. I do recommend during COVID, if you are wanting to get out, a road trip is a fantastic way to do it. Regardless of what country you're from, I am sure your country has a ton to offer and lots of places you probably haven't explored yet. So now is the perfect time to get out and explore. Road trips are the easiest way to control your environment as far as COVID goes and, mask wearing and things of that nature. So it's a great way to get out and travel. Alrighty, so as you see, we went from Southern California all the way up to Idaho and back again, obviously, which is typically a 20-hour drive one way. However, because I was driving with 4 dogs, and this is the first time that we've done this, I planned it out so we would take longer to drive up there so that each day was no longer than 6 to 7 hours. I just didn't know what the dogs would do or what it would be like, and I didn't want to overdo it. So I kept it to kind of manageable days. And so it took us about 3 days, actually 4, of driving to get all the way up to Idaho. So if I were to take the same trip again, there are some things though that I would change. Now that I know how my dogs would react. Initially, I didn't know how they would react, and so it was a good idea to keep it to manageable chunks every day. But now that I know that they do fairly well in the car and they can sit for long periods of time, if I were to have this trip to do over again, I would do a few things differently. I would either expand the drive up farther so I could enjoy each area that we stopped at a little longer. So perhaps I would allow myself to drive farther, and maybe go to less stops on the way up and on the way back, but maybe spend longer in each of those stops. And I'll tell you a little bit more about what I mean as we get into it. Okay, so as we went from Southern California all the way up to Idaho, our first day was a stopover in Sonoma, California. And as you can see, leaving Orange County, it is not the prettiest drive. A lot of people think going from Southern California to Northern California is gorgeous, and there it can be. If you are wanting a beautiful drive from Southern California to Northern or vice versa, I recommend taking PCH or Highway 1 up the coast, which is beautiful, but it's not what we did in this case. Remember, 4 dogs, trying to keep it quick. So we took the fastest route, which in this case is taking Interstate 5 up, or like the Californians like to say, taking the 5 up. And as you can see, it's not the prettiest drive, but it gets you from where you're going in the fastest time. It gets you from south to north and vice versa in about 7 hours or so. And so it was definitely the route to take for our purposes. Now, once we started to get into the Bay Area, atmosphere started to change a bit. It is a little more green in the Bay Area, a little more interesting. But this first day, we weren't exploring the Bay Area at all. So it was mostly just highway travel, which, as you can see, is pretty much like most highways around the country. But once we got into Oakland, we crossed over the bay on the San Rafael Bridge from Oakland across into the Napa, Sonoma, Petaluma kind of area up there. Once you get north of the Bay Area, it's just different. It's my favorite place to be in California. It is just, I can't explain it. I'm hoping the pictures can maybe do it a little bit of justice, but I know I didn't get enough video to really explain it. But I love the Napa area, Sonoma area, not just because I love wineries, but just the rolling hills of the vineyards and the feel of it. Just everything up there is just a different pace. I could feel myself relaxing as soon as we got across the bridge. I can't explain it. It's just an amazing place, and I really recommend that you go. So our first night that we stayed was in Sonoma, and we just stayed there for the night. So I didn't get a chance to really explore and get to know what was available in the area. And there was so much to do. I wish I had stayed longer. If you are taking a road trip and you're trying to get to a destination, a faraway destination, and you're just doing one night on your way to try to get across, if ultimately you just want to get there as fast as possible, that's fine. But if you have the opportunity, I really recommend staying overnight, maybe a couple nights in each of your stops, so you can really round out your experience and get to see those other areas and get to know them a little bit better and experience what they have to experience. Sonoma, we could have done wineries. We were right walking distance to the river where we were staying. So we could have done all sorts of river activities, tons of food, lots of things to see and do, but we didn't. Partly because of the dogs. They're not so easy to tag along everywhere we go. But that is one thing that I would change if I were to do it again. I would stay longer in this area. We did choose to stay in Airbnbs. That way we had yards with the dogs. It just made that whole situation easier. But one thing that was kind of a pain when you have that many dogs, it's kind of like anybody who's had kids. Back when you used to travel with your kids, if they're little now or when they were little, and you had tons of stuff you had to bring, not just the diaper bags, but portable cribs or play areas or toys or whatever it is that you had to bring, and it was just like all kid stuff and your stuff was at this much. Well, that's how it was with the dogs. They had so much stuff. It was all about them. So every time we would stop, we'd have to unload a ton of stuff, set it all up in the Airbnb, and then the very next morning, we'll load it back all up again and do it again. And so that is something I wish I would have changed. If I had stayed longer in each of those spots, it would have been a little more worth it. All the packing and unpacking, it would have been a little bit more enjoyable. But that's something I'll change for next time, but note that might help you on your next road vacation. All right, leaving Sonoma, we were heading north. I wanted to take a little side trip, even though it's not on our direct line, but I had never seen the redwoods before. So I wanted to go to the Avenue of Giants. And as you can see from this video, it is just incredible. I've never been in this type of a forest situation, and it's just amazing. I loved it so much. Although I hear Sequoia National Park has even bigger trees, and so I do hope to go there someday. But right now, we just drove a quick drive through the Avenue of Giants. We didn't get to stay and hike or do anything else. Again, wish I had planned more time so we could have done more things. But passing through was something I've always wanted to do, so at least we got to see them, which I'm happy about. Continuing on, we crossed over into the Mount Shasta area. And Mount Shasta not only is the mountain, which has a ton of activities available for anybody visiting, but there's also a lake with, again, a ton of activities to do, which we did nothing because we were only there for a few hours. We spent the night and then we were on our way the next day. Again, wish I had taken more time. There would have been so much to see and do. And even though it was winter, so things were kind of brown, not dead, but it was just a different atmosphere. It was still beautiful. So I can't even imagine what it would be like in the spring or in the summer. But the cool thing about this area, and the reason I chose it, is they have the Railroad Park Resort, I believe it's called. And as you can see, you actually stay in a caboose. Now, I found this on Airbnb, and it was just a fun little side trip. Even though we didn't stay long, it was neat to stay in a caboose. Now, once you're inside, and I didn't get any video of the inside, it's kind of like a small motel room. It was plenty big for my husband and I. Even with the dogs, it was plenty big. But I, again, wish we had stayed longer because it was a lot that we could have seen and done when we in the Mount Shasta region. So leaving this area, we finally hit our first icy patches, and we had brought chains along because they always recommend bringing chains in the winter, but we hadn't had to use them up to this point. Now, even on this road, they did require chains, but it was for multiple axle vehicles, which we were not. So we were okay, but being from Southern California and the desert and driving on icy roads is a wee bit stressful, just because we don't really 100% know what we're doing. So we were just going really slowly and trying to do like the other drivers were doing and just trying to do the best we could. And we made it through. Everything was fine, but it was a stressful couple hours as we were crossing over the icy patches, heading out of Northern California and into Oregon. Now, a little note on what we did with the dogs each day that actually worked. Now, it depends on your dogs, but our dogs fell into a routine. The minute they got into the car, as you can see from the video here, they would, the two little ones were in car seats, raised car seats, and the two bigger ones were on the seat. And they knew by the second or third day or so, they knew when they got in the car, it was going to be a while. So they just immediately started to rest and lay down and take a nap. And then what we did is we would just make sure we would stop every couple hours when we would get hungry, or if we had to go to the bathroom, we would stop. A lot of rest areas and truck stops have dog runs where you can take the dogs and let them out into an open space, or we would just simply walk them. So we had a whole little routine that we did with the dogs. And when it got really cold, we even had a routine with little jackets we put on them. And it actually worked out really well. After about the second day, we knew what we were doing, and it kind of flowed really easily. And so I think with anybody traveling with pets, you can get into a rhythm, and even if you're going cross country, it can really work, and you can have a really excellent vacation. Alrighty, so back to where we were. We were heading out of Northern California, crossing across the high desert of Oregon, which is not what I expected. I was thinking Oregon was green the whole way through, but no, they have a high desert with these beautiful open plains, which I have to say were really interesting and different. It felt like every day, the thing I like about road trips is every day it was as if we were in a new country or new world, because it all brought different atmosphere. Day one was brown and boring because we were just driving through the desert. Day two was green and forests and beautiful. Day three was a high plain desert. It was a totally different feeling. And so every day was like a unique experience. And I just thought it was really magnificent. So if you have an opportunity to take a road trip, especially if you're traveling across your country, there's so many different things that you can see and do. It really feels like something new every day. So we traveled through Bend, Oregon, and spent the night not too far away from Bend, Oregon, again in an Airbnb in a tiny little town called Grass Valley. And there's an Airbnb there that is wonderful. And they happen to, I'm not sure if they own it or just work in it, the little local, it's not a grocery store, it's more of like a little mart that they have in town, because I don't believe there's only one restaurant and it was closed at the time. But inside that little mart, they have a little deli and really amazing food. It was fantastic food, wonderful hospitality. We really loved it there also, but again, didn't stay long, but it was a fantastic place to stop on our way on our journey. So that was night number 3. And then the next day we got an early start and got into Washington all the way through. I don't have as many videos of that because it was just highway driving and a lot of atmosphere that we had seen. And then finally made our way into the Coeur d'Alene area. Now this area is just, I can't even explain it. As we got higher up, closer to Coeur d'Alene, the atmosphere changed. It went right back into forest, tons of lakes, just gorgeous everywhere you look. Little town of Coeur d'Alene that's right there on the lake is just adorable. Lots of shops and restaurants. Idaho at this time of year, people wear masks, but for the most part, most things were open. So we had no trouble. I mean, we didn't do a ton of things, but we had no trouble getting around. Now, leaving Coeur d'Alene, and again, highly recommend that entire area. I want to go back and explore more of Idaho and more of that part of Washington, the eastern part of Washington. I didn't have a chance to explore because we were visiting family and friends. Every day was all about seeing them, and we didn't get a chance to explore. We do want to take this trip again in those summers so that we can do some of the lake activities and hiking and biking and all of the things that it has to offer. So many things. But let's go ahead and jump back into the road trip. So on the day we left, we took the another route. And so instead of going through California, we went through tiny hit of Montana into Utah and down through the northern side of Las Vegas back to Southern California. I have to say, of all the places we went, my favorite atmosphere to drive through, my favorite views to drive through was this first day leaving Coeur d'Alene. We hit the cutting through. Coeur d'Alene is in the panhandle of Idaho, and then you hit a corner of Montana. I didn't get video because I was in awe of everywhere I went. I got a few pictures of some of the lakes, but Montana, and this was winter. Montana was amazing. It was so beautiful. I want to go back so badly and go through in the summertime because it was absolutely gorgeous. It's just beautiful. I'm so through all of this, I have to say I've been so flabbergasted about each new state, and not even just the state, but the new piece of the state. I'm from California, but mostly all I've seen is Southern California. Exploring Northern California was incredible. Seeing another part of Oregon was incredible. Seeing Montana, which I've never seen before, was beautiful, and other parts of Utah that I've never seen before. Every new place we went was just a new experience and something that was just enriching and enjoyable. And I can't recommend it highly enough to get out and explore. There's so many things. But anyway, back to Montana. Beautiful, gorgeous. And then this is the first time that we actually started to get into some snowfall when we actually crossed into northern part of Utah. We did have some light flurries, but it wasn't as harrowing as the icy patches we had before. It went away quickly. There was lots of other traffic. It was easy to navigate and it wasn't as stressful. So we were able to make our way through, cut down through Salt Lake. And I have to say, I had planned to spend the night in Utah, but by this time we had done so much driving, we just wanted to get home. So instead of this day being a 6 or 7 hour day, we ended up stretching it into a 12-hour day, or what I thought would be a 12-hour day. And make it all the way back. So some of the places I really loved about Utah, the northern part was very similar to Montana, of course. And we, like I said, had some snow, but as we passed through Salt Lake into the southern part of Utah and just the red rocks, we didn't go into Zion or Bryce Canyon, but that was close by to where we passed. And that is a whole nother place to explore that we never got a chance to explore that I'd like to go back to. But this is through some parts of, I believe it's St. George in this area. Just gorgeous red rocks and things. It was just cool. Again, I have to say, everywhere we went, it was just something new to see every single day. It was just amazing. And then we came in the northern side of Las Vegas, which I haven't done before. And so that was a new interesting thing. And then we got all the way back to Barstow, California. We were 1 hour from home. 1 hour from home, and hit the worst weather we had had the entire trip. I was in Southern California and it was the worst snow and worst weather the entire part of the trip. As you can see, we were completely stopped at one point just trying to get down the Cajon Pass. We tried a couple different ways. It was stopped. Cars had slid off of the side. The lanes were closed. Everything was absolutely stopped. We were 1 hour from home and got completely stuck and had to turn around and find a hotel 45 minutes back the other way because everybody was trying to find hotels that night that were stuck. And so we ended up having to spend one more night anyway. But I have to say, the next day was just a quick 1 hour drive or 1.5 hour drive or so. And we finally got home and it was great. So of all of the places we went, it was just something new and special and wonderful every single day. And even though it was a lot of work loading and unloading dogs every day, and especially in the snow, we had our snow gear and the dogs had snow gear because they don't know how cold it can get in those environments. I have to say it was a really, really excellent time. So as I've said 100 times now, I really highly recommend taking a road trip, especially during COVID. Now is a perfect time to go. And now as we're getting into summer, more and more things I'm sure will start to open up as the vaccine gets out more. Uh, always call ahead though to find out what is available, what rules there are in regard to COVID. Some states have restrictions for entry, so you make sure you're calling ahead and knowing what you're getting into. Airbnbs are a great way to go and stay if you have animals coming with you, but it's always good to contact your Airbnb owner to find out what's available and what the situation is in their particular town or city. and make your plans that way. And then my final piece of advice, if you are going far, consider staying at each of your stopovers, maybe a couple nights to get to know the area and explore a little bit more. Extend your vacation out a little bit so you can see more of our country or your country, and just get the experience, because even small towns have so much to offer. So get out there if you feel comfortable. I'm not telling anybody you have to travel during COVID, but if you have an opportunity for a road trip and you feel comfortable doing so, it's a great time to go, and I really encourage you to go. So get out there and do it. So if you enjoyed this and you'd like to see some more of our videos, I recommend these here. And if you enjoyed it, I'd love to have you join us by subscribing, and I will see you next time. Thanks so much for stopping by. Bye-bye.